Clapper comes up with the worst excuse ever for lying to Congress by Aaron Moreno for truthfeednews.com. Former CIA Director James Clapper used his airtime on The View today to defend himself after President Trump called him a lying machine. Of course, Clapper came up with the lamest excuse of all time for why he lied to Congress, which was that he was thinking of something else. Did he practice? Coming up with former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper on distrust of. Let's take a...
The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, oversaw 16 agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and the FBI. So he's really the perfect guy to help make some sense out of the White House war on the intelligence community.
Oh, so he is, listen to the garbage she's spewing. So he is the best to get to the bottom of all of this. Really? Really? What is the word she used?
Please welcome.
What is...
The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, oversaw 16 agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and the FBI. So he's really the perfect guy to help make some sense.
So he's the perfect guy. Yeah, he's the perfect guy to make sense. You see what they're telling the liberal idiots that listen to this show?
The White House war on the intelligence community. Please welcome.
The White House has a war with the intelligence community? Or did the intelligence community start a war on Donald Trump? And Donald Trump and the patriots, so to speak, are the ones that are fighting back. I mean, do you see right off the bat how she's starting out the segment? You see, unbelievable. And they have a lot of airtime. They get the right spots. They're pushed in the algorithms. Do you see what I'm saying? The conservative news networks are pushed to shadow banned, in other words. Let's just go with that.
Author of the new book, Facts and Fears, James Clapper.
Facts and Fears, his new book today that comes out. What a crock of crap. Hard truth from a life in intelligence. And you're not going to get anything but lies.
The new guy seems to have been at...
The new guy, meaning Donald Trump, right?
War with the intelligence community since he's taken office. Now, whether he's trying to undermine the Russia investigation or threatening the...
No, you know what the thing is? You know, this is very aggravating to me. Sorry to stop the film. I mean, at this point in time, that look what they're speaking, how they're speaking about our president. Look at what they're doing to 80%. I'm going with 80% of the people are on Trump's side. And yet these people are on the air still. I mean, can anybody explain it to me, how they're still on the air, how they're still making money, how they're... but I guess the advertisers like... Procter & Gamble, big money, why are they pushing this? Why are they pushing this kind of a narrative? You know, I'm at a loss. I'm really at a loss because from the start of the film, we're only 34 seconds in, and there were at least 10 lies in 34 seconds.
Robert Mueller or demanding investigations into, you know, whether somebody's been in his group investigating. I mean, is this having like a bad effect on the country?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help, in my view. I think we got off to a bad start.
And she's making fun of everything. You know, I can't even stomach this.
In January of 17, when we went up to Trump Tower, undoubtedly my last ever sojourn to Trump Tower, and briefed him on the intelligence community assessment about the Russian interference. And I think his reaction then, it's still the same today, is just can't accept anything that would cast doubt on the legitimacy of his election. And certainly the Russian meddling had that impact.
1 minute and 21 seconds. How many lies were just spewed?
And so the intelligence community is a source of that. You know, we characterize this as Nazis for, you know, having leaked the dossier, which we didn't do, but anyway.
Having leaked the dossier, which we didn't do. Which he was the one that did it. Even though he probably had orders from, you know, other people, but it was a whole plot. But do you see how? Oh my.
Which I called him about, just to protect. I felt I had to say something for the men and women that toil in the trenches of intelligence every day trying to make this country safe.
Notice the background, from Joy Behar there.
And so that has continued to this day. And I think, you know, with the informant business, well, the point here is...
Well, let me get to my question.
Are the Russians, not
Here she
spying on the
goes.
campaign, but what are the Russians doing? And in a sense,
Right.
unfortunately, what they were trying to do is protect our political system and protect the campaign.
But the FBI started to look into Trump's ties to Russia in the summer of 2016. And Trump tweeted that this spying that he claims is spying, other people say it's a whistleblower or an informant. He says it's spying, is bigger than Watergate. So I ask you, was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand, were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage.
Do you see that? Do you see that?
Influence.
So why doesn't
which
he like?
Is what they do.
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy though.
Well, he should be.
Right.
I mean, Russia proposed, and this is one of the reasons I wrote my book, was the threat that Russia poses because they are bent on undermining our system. And that's what they did and had a lot of success during the course of the election.
You know, I don't like the term spy either. I was with the Department of Justice's in AUSA,
Of
and
course
I think
you wouldn't.
surveil is perhaps the more important word. What about this notion that there was a CI, a confidential informant, embedded in the campaign? Is that true?
Well, as we've seen, now, unfortunately, the identity of this informant is now out in the media. And if you know, this is a fairly benign tool available to the FBI, given all the other capabilities available to them. And what has been described that he did was pretty mild. The FBI particularly uses informants all the time for law enforcement purposes.
And it's
a
legal.
very valuable source of information. The FBI has very strict rules and protocols on their usage. And what's bad about this is revelations about this individual. So other informants for the FBI who provide valuable information that keep this nation safe and secure begin to wonder, well, is my identity going to be protected? And what about potential informants who might want to help with the FBI? And what's the impact on them? It's pretty chilling.
You know, the president tweeted about you, quote, Clapper is a lying machine who now works for fake news. So a lot of people I know, first of all, what was your reaction to that when you first saw that?
Well, the president's calling me a lying machine. Well, okay. What that stems from is an exchange I had with Senator Wyden 5 years ago in March of 2013 about a surveillance program, and he was asking me about one, and I was thinking about another. So I made a mistake, but I didn't lie, so that's what occasioned...
So what you're referencing, though, is that when you said, when you were talking about James Snowden blowing the whistle on the NSA, illegally spying, and in 2013, when you were asked about it, you said no. So that is a lie. And
No, it isn't a lie. I'm sorry, it isn't a lie. I was thinking about something else. Another program. I can get at all the technical details about... He was asking about the metadata program. And the euphemistic way he asked about it, I didn't break the code. I was thinking of another program that we just gotten renewed, Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And by the way, had I been on the same page with him and understood what he was asking me, I'd have still been in a bad place because at the time that program was classified. And just on the face of it, I've been trotting up the hill testifying for 20 or 25 years, dozens of hearings, hundreds of questions, and always tried to answer them straight. But gee, just for a change of pace, I think I'll lie on this one question, and by the way, do it on live television in front of one of my oversight committees. Really?
Well,
no. So I made a mistake,
at this
but I
point,
didn't.
sir.
Listen to the clapping. Listen to the clapping. Did you notice? How could people stomach this? I just can't wait till these people are prosecuted. And you know, they held up signs for that kind of a clapping. Because the dumb liberals don't even know who the hell Clapper is. Are you going to tell me that they know that they're clapping like it was a rock star up there?
9 times a day now, according to the
I think it's that there is a distrust, though. What's fascinating right now is there's such a distrust between the American public and our intelligence agencies, and there's a lot of leaking. James Comey leaking his memos, Andrew McCabe leaking to the media about the Clinton investigation. So I know people in my own life who have this distrust, which is unique to this moment in time. Is there any ownership to be taken from the intelligence agencies with this right now?
The lesson, I'll tell you, the major takeaway from Edward Snowden, and I have a whole chapter in my book about that, particularly from the government's point of view and the profound damage he has done. And if you're paying taxes in this country today, and for some years, you're going to be paying to repair the damage he did to our foreign intelligence capabilities.
Yeah, but how about the taxpayer money that went down to Iran there? How much was that?
It's exposed was only about so-called domestic surveillance, I could understand it, but he exposed a lot more. Just the nature of intelligence work, which is secret, it has to be, particularly to protect sources and methods. So that automatically, by definition, raises suspicions in the minds of a lot of people. Understand that. And one of the lessons I learned, and which I tried to work at after Snowden, was we need to be more transparent, to try to explain what we do, why we do it, and importantly, all the oversight mechanisms that exist to make sure that what we do is legal, ethical, and moral. But inherently, intelligence, it's not like the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Commerce, which is open, transparent, no secrets. Well, inherently, our work is. That places a huge burden on our intelligence oversight committees, one of which right now is kind of broken, to perform that oversight on behalf of everyone in this room and on behalf of all American citizens to ensure that we are doing.
In other words, he's just talking, rambling in circles. That's why Megan's, whatever her name is, McCain face. Did you see how she's squinting her face because she can't make heads or tails? What is he talking about now? He's just running around in circles, not giving an answer.
We're doing the right thing.
I have a question for you real quickly. We live kind of in a dangerous time where depending on which side of an issue you're coming at, you think of people as either whistleblowers or leakers.
Exactly.
So when we talk about the Steele dossier, for example, which was an unsubstantiated document with salacious claims about Trump, James Comey briefed the president on that dossier, and then it got out to the media. You have said that you did not leak that. Do you have theories on this, and is that okay? Because where we fall, we might see this as good because it was a whistleblower or bad because it was a leak.
Well, first of all, the dossier is not classified, not an intelligence document, so there's nothing secret about it. 2 points I need to make. One, we did not use it as a source for our intelligence community assessment.
Yeah, hold that word. You didn't use it? We're going to dig to the bottom. We already know that was the basis. That's why they were holding the information. It was the main source. They had a who was it? Gates that had to go to the FISA court to get to the bottom of what the investigation was all about. It was about that dossier, and he said it wasn't based on the dossier, huh? The whole investigation was started from that dossier. Another lie, big lie.
I felt, in the no good deed goes unpunished department, that the president-elect at least needed to know it was out there. And that was the whole point of the briefing.
No, you were trying to blackmail him. You guys were trying to blackmail him. He didn't follow the rules, and that's when you automatically put it out in the media.
At one point, Jim and I were both going to do it, and at the last moment...
Oh, Jim and I. At one point, both Jim and I, notice how buddy he is with Jim. Jim Comey, huh?
Yeah, Comey. And at the...
They had to ask who to reference. You see that? I'm telling you.
Last moment he said, I think it'd be better if I do it alone. And of course, I was fine with that. And
oh, very funny.
So he stayed after the broader briefing to tell him that. So the point was to warn him, and we didn't draw on it.
They were protecting the president to warn Trump? They actually were trying to warn Trump? Any idiot would know they weren't trying to warn him. To warn him? They are attacking him tooth and nail. They were trying to warn him?
For our official assessment, and because we couldn't validate the second, third order assets or collection sources, informants that were used in the dossier.
So the dossier is not necessarily a leak.
No, I mean,
not classified.
It's not classified.
if I
It's not
handed
an
a newspaper,
intelligence
am I leaking the newspaper too?
Not in my mind.
Well, not in my mind either. Yeah.
Of course not in your mind. Of course not in your mind, you hypocrite.
Well, I don't know how I feel about James Clapper is sticking around, and we'll be right back.
You can tell he's nervous. He was talking around in circles when Meghan McCain, she confronted him, if that's her name. I can't keep track of everybody. But this is really, I'd like to see him answer those questions when he's asked under oath again, when they have him on video. And they're going to go through it like a fine-tooth comb, and it's all going to fall right back on top of them. Sorry to have interrupted so many times, but it is disgraceful what is going on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and again, thank you so much for watching.